My name is Marcos, and I'm a 29-year-old construction worker who once believed hard work, honesty, and keeping my head down were enough to survive in this world. But everything changed the day I saw my girlfriend's photo circulating through our company's group chat, posted by a man I once stood beside on scaffolds, never realizing he was capable of ruining lives like some sick puppet master. Jake was one of those overly confident guys you instinctively avoid, the type who flexed his muscles more than he used them, tatted from shoulder to knuckle, charming enough to cover the rot inside him. He was Mexican, just like me, but where I worked to support my diabetic mother's dialysis treatments, he thrived on manipulation, harassment, and unchecked ego. Things spiraled the moment my girlfriend, Sarah, started bringing me lunch on Fridays. Just a quiet, caring gesture that turned into a battleground. The first time she showed up on site, Jake suddenly found a reason to work shirtless, flexing next to us while hammering boards no one asked him to touch. I wanted to speak up, but Sarah, always gentle, squeezed my hand under the table like she knew trouble was brewing. I didn't think much of it until the photos surfaced. Jake had secretly taken pictures of Sarah from behind and posted them in our job site's Facebook group with vulgar captions that made my skin crawl. By the time I saw them, dozens of men had commented, laughed, and even saved them. HR shrugged it off, said they couldn't prove it was him because the account was anonymous. The whole site knew it was Jake, though. We all did. And then came the rumor. Jake claiming Sarah was pregnant with his child, telling our coworkers I was raising another man's baby like some pitiful fool. I tried to ignore it, but the whispering followed me to other job sites. Then, one Friday, my hard hat felt strange. I should have known. When I put it on, my scalp seared with pain. Jake had filled the lining with superglue mixed with fiberglass insulation and adhesive. At the ER, they had to cut through my scalp to remove it, leaving me burned, bleeding, and bald in places. As if that wasn't enough, before I could even check out, Sarah texted to say we needed a break. She didn't fully believe Jake's lies, she said, but the doubt was planted. That was the moment I knew I had to fight back. Jake had taken my silence for weakness. So I became someone else. Maria Rodriguez, a fake Instagram profile with the face of an AI-generated 18-year-old girl with long hair, big brown eyes, and Jake's exact type. She worked at our company, new admin assistant, fresh out of trouble, and when I followed him, he messaged within minutes. Over the next few days, he sent shirtless pics of his fast food gut, bragged about promotions he could arrange, and even promised to show her a real man. I baited him slowly, pretending to live alone, pretending to be naive. When he finally promised a live stream of their first date, I watched with popcorn in hand. The address I'd given him belonged to a biker named Miguel, whose girlfriend's real name was Maria. When Jake knocked on that door holding flowers and was greeted by a furious man in leather, the live stream caught every second. His face, his lies, his scream when Miguel dragged him inside. The video exploded across job site WhatsApp groups. Jake, bloodied and humiliated, had his company name on full display. His uncle, Leo Pinoa, owned the business and had no choice but to fire him. I thought it was over until I checked my bank account. My mother's entire dialysis fund, $3,000 I'd saved over 6 months, was gone. The transfer? Made by Sarah. I couldn't believe it until I saw her name. Sarah Martinez. I stormed over to her place, and when she opened the door, she was crying like she hadn't slept in days. He made me, she sobbed. Jake had come to her with screenshots of my Maria messages, claimed he'd report me for fraud and identity theft, and worse, he had private photos from their past relationship, ones she'd sent before we met. If she didn't steal from me, he'd post them everywhere. Jake had turned Sarah into his puppet too. I told her we had to go to the police, but she was terrified. Jake made her send the money from her own laptop, her own account. Legally, it looked voluntary. She wasn't even aware of the bank account he'd opened under her name to receive it. I drove her to the police anyway. The detective barely looked interested. Without proof of coercion, she said it was a civil matter. That night, Sarah cried herself to sleep while I stared at the ceiling, wondering how someone like Jake could keep getting away with this. But help came from an unexpected place. Sarah's quiet roommate, Brittany, a tech genius who worked in IT downtown. She knocked on my apartment door with a laptop and Sarah's phone in hand. "Jake installed a keylogger on this," she said. "He's been watching her for months. Every password, text, email, he had it all." Brittany traced the logs to an email registered to Jake Pinoa. We had him. And not just him. Jake had been spying on other women, too. At least 6 victims, maybe more. But Brittany wasn't done. She uncovered his entire digital trail, pickup artist forums, spy app tutorials, even posts bragging about selling women's private photos. He was trafficking. Then she found something else. Jake complaining about his uncle, saying Leo didn't respect him, threatening to blackmail him with dirt. Jake's so-called insurance on Leo might be our way in. I tried to go to Leo myself, but it was no use. He defended Jake, threatened me, called our video a setup. I left his office feeling powerless. But Brittany had a plan. She crafted texts from Sarah to bait Jake again, hinting that she might go to the police, that she was scared. Predictably, Jake called within minutes, threatening to release her photos unless we deleted the video. Brittany recorded everything. Clear extortion. But it wasn't enough. So we offered to pay. Sarah pawned jewelry. Carlos emptied his savings. Brittany maxed out a credit card. We scraped together $2,800. Jake agreed to meet behind a strip mall, thinking he was collecting hush money. He accepted the cash, threatened us again, bragged that he'd never stop. And then flashing lights flooded the lot. FBI agents, unmarked cars, and a woman named Agent Chun stepped out with a badge and a warrant. Jake was under arrest for wire fraud, cyberstalking, and trafficking. He shouted about entrapment, tried to blame us, but it was too late. The FBI had been tracking him for months after a victim in Arizona came forward. Our evidence tied everything together. And Leo? He cracked, facing his own fraud charges. Leo flipped on his nephew and began cooperating with authorities. Jake lost everything, his job, his reputation, his freedom. They found hundreds of victims across 5 states. My mom's dialysis was saved by a federal victims fund, thanks to Agent Chun fast-tracking our application. Sarah and I held each other, crying as the weight lifted from our lives. Brittany's courage and Carlos's loyalty saved us. And Jake? He's facing decades behind bars, this time truly alone. It's not over yet. There will be courtrooms and testimonies. But for the first time in months, I feel like I can breathe, like I have my life back. Thank you for listening to my story. If you found this journey as intense and emotional as I lived it, please consider subscribing to Kindle Stories. Give this video a like, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you.